always learning and growing, attracting the right people, and keeping your vision in focus every day. This is the Brian Covey Show.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of the Brian Covey Show. So today we are honored with somebody that I've been following along, seeing their journey, and a lot of things we're going to be able to unpack today to help you with wherever you are. If you're somebody that's struggling today, or somebody that's winning at a high level, I believe both of you, those versions of yourself, you can win at a higher level and really step into what God's called you to do and use your unique gifts, your experiences for good and do something great. And so today we're joined by Ryan Stewman. You may know him as a hardcore closer. And I have been following Ryan and really most impressed with how this dude shows up and tells it how it is. But also I have seen growth in his own life of how he's writing and actually delivering content in my mind that cuts through the noise and the BS and actually lands that helps you make a decision today to move forward and win. So Ryan, dude, thank you for joining us.
What's going on, man? That's like the fanciest podcast. I've been on thousands of podcasts. That's like the fanciest podcast intro. You, sir, get the award for the fanciest podcast. I like it. You know, that's cool. It's like stands out. I dig it.
Dude, thank you. So when we created the show, I wanted something that would stand out and would kind of be a little bit of my personality. And I'm a bass player and love music, love all that stuff. And I asked Jim, he does some of the, you'll probably recognize the voice, but he does some voiceovers for some guys. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing this podcast. I think I need a good intro. Help me. That's how you start, right?
Let me get this straight, man. You play professional sports. You run probably $1 trillion company. Who knows how much Loan Depot's doing? And you play music and you got some good hair, bro. You like winning the game of life, man. You like won God's lottery. He's like, this guy, I'm gonna give it all to him, man. Like that's awesome, dude. That's amazing.
Oh, dude, I'll take all the compliments, but.
And you said it's obviously genetically passed on because you said your daughter's a champion and winning right now as well. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Man, you got to be happy about all that, man.
I am. You know what? And I think some of what we'll unpack today is people see all of that stuff. And probably we have a lot in common on this of there's been plenty of seasons and years in my life that were not great, that struggle and sacrifice and what people don't see. And I think too often, right, we get the Instagram feed, we get all of the highlight reel of what's there. And even this morning, man, we did one of our workouts at our gym and I went in there and brought my youngest, my 6-year-old, and I want him to see dad put in hard work because he never got to see me play. He didn't see that. And that's where I see you leaning in with your kids. I saw the ruck, carrying your daughter in there in the back and all. Like, I think this is where we can make a difference. So dude, I'd love for you to share today what you are seeing as far as I feel like it's a divide in our culture in a way of like, there are people talking about it and there's people doing it. What do you see that's separating that, why that is?
I think the biggest thing that really a true sign of somebody who's committed, who's doing it is the consistency side. We live in a society, this is no secret, but we live in a society where people, they want whatever it is that they want immediately. This overnight success. All of a sudden, this pop star comes up, this athlete comes up, this musician comes up, or celebrity, and you're like, where's your TikTok sensation or whatever? But what we don't see, excuse me, it's allergy season here in Texas. But what we don't see is the consistency of what it took, for example, the person to become, we see, the guy, what is his name? Aiden, that just was the #1 draft in the NFL or whatever. And we're like, oh, wow, an overnight success. That dude's probably been playing football since he was like 6 years old. You know what I mean? And been playing more football than anybody else. I'm just guessing, but probably been playing more football than anybody else since he was 6 years old. He probably couldn't go party in high school like some of the kids. He probably didn't get to go on the vacations like some of the other kids. And they don't see that. They're just like, oh, lucky guy. He's first round draft in the NFL. Or I got a guy that I follow named Jelly Roll. And last year his music blew up. He went from getting, $5,000 a show to $150,000 or more, maybe now a show, and platinum record, big hits with all the stars and on tour with all. But what people didn't see is the last 15 years, this dude's been playing shows for free, rapping out of his basement, putting in the time, but he never quit. He's not like, right. Had he quit in 2020, then what happened to him in 2021 would have never happened to him. And I think that's the separator that really a wise person watches for. It's like, I watch somebody and they come up out of nowhere and they become successful, whether it's on the internet or whether it's in sports, just like we're talking about. And I wonder if they can handle it. I wonder if they're going to be able to go through this, because as a person that's come from literally nothing a few times and started all over and got it back, it's a curse. The first time that I made, $1 million, I'd only been working for like 2 years and I made $1 million in a year. That was one of the biggest curses. It's a blessing now because it was a lesson. But at the time, it was one of the biggest curses because I didn't have the mental maturity, not just on the financial side, but to be able to have a conversation and not be able to be like, dude, I'm $1 million this year. Like you're excited about it, just like when a 2-year-old gets new shoes, right? But I can make $1 billion this year, and I'm not telling anybody, right? I'm not going to have that conversation with you. I made $1 billion this year, like that's just, it's a maturity thing. So I wasn't mature enough to handle it with conversation, so I pissed off friends and stuff. Then, I wasn't mature enough to handle spending it, because a lot of people, when they get something, they think it's going to keep coming for forever. Man, money comes and goes. It's the economy. So I say that because the big thing we have to look for is the guy that's like Jelly Roll, that's been doing this for 15 years, and we see them win all of a sudden, is somebody who's probably going to ride this thing out and stick through it, versus somebody who they got in, hit a leg, lucky with SEO or some fancy video or blah, blah, blah. Those people aren't going to be able to handle. I was talking to a venture capitalist yesterday, and he said, we look for companies that grow 30 to 50% year over year. Companies like yours, Ryan, he's talking to me specifically, that's been growing 200, 250% year over year for the last 12 years. Like, we wouldn't touch that normally, because we know that like that's a huge influx of business that eventually they're not going to be able to handle. And he's like, but it's consistent with you. But had you been like 20%, 20%, 250, we wouldn't even be talking to you right now,
Wow. Well, dude, I love that you said consistency, because that is where I've found the wins in my own life of like when Absolutely. I'm consistent, whether it's working out or eating well or spending time with a relationship, my family, like that is the foundation. And you had a post the other day that I think some people struggle with this. I'd love for you to expand on, is you're talking about your circle and your friends, and you posted this picture with people you used to hang out with. And I think about for me too, like 5, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the people I was hanging around, they had a larger influence than I ever gave them credit or even knew. So how have you shifted your circle? Because I think that's a question I get asked a lot is, okay, I'm around these people today, but I want to be around these people. How somebody's listening, how do they go get new friends, so to speak, and around the right people?
Well, I can tell you exactly what I did. And for those of you listening, maybe you know me and you think, oh, this is Ryan Stewman, he's famous or whatever, but I'm just some dude from a small Texas town and then moved to Dallas, Texas when I was a young man. And like, I'm not a born into money or born into fame or athletically talented dude. I couldn't throw a baseball to save my life. You know what I mean? My kid, it's like, hey, you want to play catch? And I'm going to have to go ask the neighbor to play with him. I'm just like, not any of those things. I'm not a good actor. I don't have a pretty voice. And so I'm not shitting on myself. I'm just saying that, like, if you have any of those things, you can probably accelerate this a lot faster than I did. But here's what I did. And this is just who I am at a core, is I'm a giver. And so most people, I know as a person that has a little bit of limelight now, most people that slide in my DMs want something from me. And even if they're saying, hey, Ryan, what's your address? I want to send you a gift. There's always like, and I did a little time in prison. And so in prison, every time somebody even offers you a gift, there's something attached to it, right? It's like, even if you borrowed somebody, there's an interest attached to it. Hey, I looked out for you then. Like it becomes I don't like that. And so people slide in my DMs, they give me gifts and stuff, and they send me maybe their merch, hoping I screenshot it in one of my videos or whatever the case may be. But here's the thing, is like the way that I got in with, Ed Milet or, Dan Fleischman or, I don't talk about my clients publicly, but there's a lot of NFL people, NBA people, Hollywood folks, musicians that I mentor that are my clients as well. I just don't mention them publicly, but it's a lot. And the thing is, though, the way that I got with all of these people is two things. First of all, I had to figure out what kind of person would those folks want to hang out with, right? Like what if I'm just some degenerate loser from prison? What the hell would Ed Milet want to hang out with me and invite me over to his house for, right? Even if I had money and I paid Ed to be in a mastermind or whatever, what would make him want to choose me to have a conversation with versus the other people? and this is going to blow a lot of people's mind because a lot of people ain't prepared for this, but I played the long game. When I started this business in 2010, I knew I was going to be here forever. I'm not a quitter. I'm consistent, just like you said. And like, I'm just doing it, whether it became, whether it produced money like it is now, or whether it was just barely me getting by. That was my lot in life that I chose. And so because of that, I do what's called power moves. So I'll tell you exactly how I met Ed Milet, for example. I wrote and still write for Forbes and a few other publications. And Ed's PR person is one of our Apex clients. And this is in 2017. Ed doesn't have Instagram. Ed doesn't have any of this, right? And Ed's just taken his second round of money from WFG, working his way out from salesman to chairman, right? At this point in his career, not now, but at this point. Yeah. And no, I don't know who Ed is. Nobody knows who Ed is, but my PR guy says, you're going to like this dude. And the first thing Ed says is, when we get on the phone, because he's asking me for a favor, and he's like, I got 10 minutes. I'm about to get on my jet and roll to my other house in Idaho. And I'm like, how rich is this dude? You know what I'm saying? Like at that time in my life, I never talked to nobody that just randomly on a Tuesday afternoon is like, oh yeah, I'm leaving and he didn't say it like, he just casually said it because that's his life or whatever. And I was like, all right, this dude's important, clearly. So I wrote a couple articles about him to help him get a blue check on Instagram, right? So he'd have some press and stuff, okay? Because they're really weird about that stuff. Oh, yeah. Well, then Ed tells me, we talked for an hour, not 10 minutes. He ended up sitting there on the runway talking to me on the jet for about an hour. And I wrote some awesome articles. They're still on Forbes and Influensive about Ed. You can Google them. And he ended up getting a blue check, because of that and some other effort down the road and then being who he is, obviously. But I told him, I said, man, I'd like for you to mentor me. And he said, man, I don't think you can afford me. And I said, well, you don't know how much money I'm willing to blow, right? Like, maybe I can't, but you don't know how dumb I am, right? Yep. And he goes, well, I typically only mentor, like A-list celebrities and, NFL players and stuff. But me and this guy, Andy, I had no idea who Andy was. Me and this guy, Andy Frisella, you ever heard of him? I'm like, no. And he goes, you should look him up. I think you'd like him. And we're going to start this thing. So I was like the first person in Arte, like the first person, because Ed reached out. So then, and again, I'm just telling you this process, guys, because nobody thinks of it this way. So I'm like, okay, guy turned me down for mentoring. That's cool. He's a busy guy, runs a business or whatever. It's not really his thing. But he's got this thing with this other dude from St. Louis. I'll check him out. Turns out that guy's pretty cool too. I like him, great leadership and all that. This is the time. Now I love both of them, but the time I'm checking the other guy out, right? And so I joined up, and Ed's like, out of everybody I hit up, you were the first person that paid immediately. That's step number one in life. Pay immediately. I pay quick and pay fast so that if I ever need something in the future, people are like, shit, when I do business with Stewman, he pays fast, right? Mm-hmm. If I comment on my watch guy stuff, hey, I want that one, he goes on and sends it to me because he knows the wire's coming, right? There's no games with me because that's how I want to be paid. I won't have to chase money down, right? Not from my tenants, not from my anybody. So I do to people, the golden rule, I do to people how I want done to me. So I paid fast. And we go to the first meetup, because 3 meetups a year. First meetup, everybody's like, flies on shit around Ed and Andy, right? And I want to be that way too, but I'm not going to just be in the mix. So I, let them do their thing. We're there for 3 days. We leave. Next thing, we go together. We're at the next deals. A couple months later, 3 days, flies on shit around them again. I just kind of did my own thing. Ed texts me. He goes, "You mad at us or what?" Something to this student. It's like, is everything okay? Because we've been to 2 of these meetups and you haven't even come by and said hello. Everything cool. And I was like, man, you're fucking busy. Last thing I want to be is like, if I was in your shoes, the last thing I'd want is another dude sitting next to me, talking to me, asking questions and shit. And immediately he went, oh, this guy gets it. He's safe. Come sit next to us at lunch tomorrow because he knows I'm not going to let me pick your brain. I want to, but I know that's not the right thing to do to somebody, right? Don't get me wrong. I want to be like, yeah, tell me how to become a billionaire. I won't fucking let me get, but I know he's probably mentally fucking whipped from his job and stuff. Okay. So then the next year I paid again. Hey, you want to go again? Yes. Because 70% of the first year people quit. So now I'm an OG, right? So now everybody else quit after the first year. I'm still in there like, man, Stewman's loyal. So then I start promoting it for him. I'm still their number one promoter to send people over there. And so the reason why I tell you that story, and now those guys, I talk to them on a regular basis. Ed's doing this thing today that he asked me to promote. He'll be here at my event next week. And I say that because I never showed up and said, Ed, what can you do for me? Even when Ed's speaking at my event, He's like, yeah, I'd love to speak at your event. I'll do you a deal. I was like, I don't want a deal, right? Like, let me pay your full fee. You got jet fuel. I know how it is these days. Like, let me pay your full fee. I'll pay it up front. I ain't got to do half and half or half. You say you're going to be there. I'm going to send you the whole amount. Just don't play gimmicks. And it's like, oh shit, if you ever need me to do anything again, like this is how you do business, I'm in. Then guess what? They start telling other people, man, if you get a deal with Stewman, that guy handles his business. He's good on his word. He takes care of his people, blah, blah, blah. And that's what I've done. I've done that with Frank Kern. I've done that with Ed Milet. And because of that, people see me with those guys. I did it with David Goggins. David's got a similar story. He didn't have an Instagram or any of that shit or a book when he met me. And now he's got all that, right? And so me and David worked together in 2017, same year I met Ed. And actually had David in 2017, Ed in 2018. And, again, neither one of those guys were really doing anything at the time. And now they are. I'm not taking credit for either one of them. I'm just saying, like, I was a part of that journey with them and watched it go down, and
yeah.
And David will be here next week as well. He doesn't speak anywhere anymore. That's not the same, but he's coming for me. Part of that's because I pay well and I pay fast, right? Like, take notes. The other part's because, I'm the guy that shows up, and this is what Goggins said yesterday, day before yesterday when we were on the phone. He said, I'll stay. You paid me money. If there's 1,000 people that are in Apex that need a picture with Goggins, 1,000 people get a picture with Goggins. If we got to go till 3 a.m, I don't give a fuck. And I'm like, see, that's, but he wouldn't do that for like Tom Ferry. You know what I mean? Like when Tom Ferry's event, and I'm not shitting on Tom. I'm just saying that he's not going to do that for his people because it's a different relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, I love that you break down. And this is stuff that people do not talk about. And one of our core values, and I've shared with people, is decisiveness, right? Because in life, there's too many times that you're in that just in between with people. And you're like, man, I don't know where I stand. I need people that can make decisions. And what you talked about is paying fast. You made decisions and you stuck to the game plan and your word. I think this is rare out there. And I know you see it. I see it too, where I'm like, what other information do you need? Like if people want to invest, and this is where I would love for you to expand on this, because you're in the personal coaching space. You're doing this yourself. You have coaches in your life. And I see too many people that they hold out from what they could be because, to your point, they don't pay. They don't upgrade their ticket when they go to these conferences. They don't do the little bit extra that's going to differentiate them. And so you shared paying fast. You shared there, a couple of, I think, more tactical pieces that people overlook. I would love for you to talk about this part of conferences now that we're all getting back together. You're hosting a killer conference next weekend. And if you're going to a conference, how do you make the most of that if you're a participant? Because I see this as a window of opportunity for many that is missed.
I throw, our company throws 35 events per year. That's just us. Plus I speak at another 20 or so events per year, right? Maybe 2 a month. Okay. So we'll call it 50 to 60 gigs a year I'm over here doing, right? And so I have a lot of experience, been doing that for a long time. Probably the only person that does more than me in this space is Dan Fleischman, right? Who's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And I say that because at every conference, people go because they want to meet Ryan Stewman on stage, or they want to meet Andy Frisella or Eric Thomas or David Gogg, whoever it is, right? They want to meet the stage person, the Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone guy. Your chances of connecting with that person and impressing them and making an impression upon them are almost zero. Not that they don't like you, not that we don't think you're cool, not that you don't have the greatest idea. We're on stage. We are mentally freaking whipped, and we are not concerned with, let me pick your brain. Because if you don't do this for a living, you don't know what it's like to get a team together. In my case, get on a jet, fly somewhere, whether it's commercial or private, doesn't matter. It's frustrating either way. Get on a jet, fly somewhere, leave your family behind, figure out what you're going to say in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people, and not say, not look like a fool. Make sure you don't piss yourself. There's so much that you really don't. Public speaking is the number one fear in the world, right? People would rather get attacked by a bear or a shark than speak in front of their peers on stage. Most people, right? So it takes a lot out. And so even if you had something that was amazing, I got a 5,000% guaranteed pays out tomorrow, loan me money. It's too much. So your best bet is to connect with the people in the audience. Because here's the best part. You paid money to be somewhere. So did the person to your right, to your left, in front of you, and behind you. they're all searching for the same thing that you're searching for in some form or another. They all want more of something. They all want to be better at something. So when you show up at a conference, oftentimes they think, oh, these people around me, I want to be friends with Tony Robbins or whatever the case. Like, dude, Tony Smith and Tony Jackson sitting next to you are going to give you more deals and help you get powered. And it's a biblical principle. When two or more agree on touching anything, it shall be done. And in the Bible, they use the word touching because it's a loose translation. But what it means is when two people get together and work their ass off, you can do anything. And the people willing to work, the guy that's on stage has already worked his ass off, probably don't have an ass to work anymore, right? Because he's tired. I'm just telling you from experience. The dudes in the audience, ladies in the audience are still hungry. They still got an ass to work. You get with them. That's what you're going to these conferences for. I tell people all the time, it's like, it's cool. You got these celebrities on stage and all this shit, but there's real people in the audience. There's people with 9 and 10 figure businesses. There's people that exited for 9 figures in the audience that I know personally that don't have a social media profile, but that pull up to the event in a Pagani, but are parked in back so nobody sees it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like that kind of. And so if you're sitting there and you think, who can this person be? They're in the audience. The people in the audience are more baller 9 times out of 10 than the people on stage. So your job is to show up and connect with people. Hey, let's say that you are, since y'all do loans, let's say you're a mortgage guy. This is what I would tell you. And you go to a Tom Ferry event because he's like the big real estate event guy, right?
Oh yeah.
And even if you don't like Tom, and that's okay, right? I'm just saying, even if, and what's not to like, he's a nice guy, but I'm saying, even if you don't like Tom or how he does stuff, you still show up at his event because your target audience is there. But here's what most mortgage guys do. Oh, you're in real estate. We should talk. Let's go do lunch, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk on the break. I do mortgages. They give. They're expecting the other person to give, right? Instead, you meet somebody, you just have a normal conversation. Let's say you're a realtor, Brian. It's like, hey, Brian, what do you do? I'm a real estate agent. Oh, that's awesome. How long you been in real estate? Talk to them about themselves. You got kids, blah, blah. It's like, hey, if you want, I'm about to go over to the bar, have a drink, probably order an appetizer. I'd be more than happy to buy you a drink and maybe share a plate or something like that, get to know each other, talk about maybe we can do something. Then all of a sudden you're not asking for, hey, give me business. Here's my business card type of stuff. You're making friends. I couldn't tell you how many conferences I've been where I followed that same method, opened up a tab at the bar and say, hey, just go put it on my name. Just go up there and tell them, just go put the tab on my name and then come back over here. Let's talk, and I send 3 or 4 people paying. So there's 1,000 people inside a conference and I'm out here having a conversation with 5 people about to pull 6 figures out of a conversation that cost me a couple drinks a piece, Dude,
and I love that you said that because, I can relate to that 100%. The conferences I've been to in the last year, the best investment deals and actually mentorships have come out of people in the audience. They weren't the speakers, to your point, because yes, you might get a relationship. And if you land that, that's awesome. Maybe you guys connect. But I love that you went that route because this is where I think people miss out. They've paid the money. They're in the room. They don't even recognize or take time to build those relationships. And what's been cool through that, you talked about Andy and Ed's story and some others. I've watched a couple of these guys go and we're all just quietly just doing the work. We're building our brands as well. Well, guess what? When they need someone to come speak, my biggest speaking event this year came from one of those relationships. We're like, hey, I met you. I like you. So if you want to do these things, guys, listen to what Ryan just said, because you're going after sometimes somebody that, I hate to say it's out of your level, but what you said was right, is they have so many things priority wise. Their brain is so focused on delivering that day what they said they would. They're not engaging in a conversation to get to know you during that setting. And so move it forward. So I'd love to take it a step forward. When you leave the conference, because this comes up, we get this question, how do you then take that either into building a relationship, or maybe you found someone there that could be a coach or mentor? How would you follow up and then after the conference, build that together if you met somebody that was cool?
First, I connect with everybody on social media. Facebook, I don't like LinkedIn. So it's Facebook or Instagram for me. A lot of the influencer types or the business promoters and stuff are on Instagram. That's usually how it works. Yeah. I actually carry something. Shameless plug, I ain't gonna lie, but it's the greatest thing ever. So I carry this thing, it's called a pulse card, and you can get it at phonesites.com, which is a company that I own. But basically the way that we set these up, and they're like $1, so it's not expensive. So a lot of people carry business cards, right? They got a stack of them in their pocket and they give them out and the people throw them away. Instead, my COO has my phone, but you put it in front of the phone and it pops up a little simple web page, like almost like a Linktree web page with your contact information. They can import it into their phone just with one button. It puts it in your contacts, and it allows them to type in their information to send to your phone so that you have their contact information. Again, you put the card back in your wallet, just like a credit card, and you're good to go. And now you got a list of leads that you met. First of all, people are impressed when they see that. It's like, here, let me see your phone. And you just wipe that in front. They're like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? So now you got to, they may even follow up with you and be like, what the hell was that thing that you swiped that put your info in? Like, where can I get that? Right. So that's a good conversation starter in all honesty. But then if you talk to like 5 or 6 people and you traded contact information with them and you followed them on Instagram, maybe you send them a book. Let's say you were at Ed Milet's conference today. And you didn't know this, but Dan Fleischman's in the audience. Cody Sperber's in the audience. Cole Hatter's in the audience. They're all friends of mine. I saw their stories. They all went together. But you didn't know any of those guys because you're not in that industry. And they're just randomly sitting there in the audience, right? And you go and you make connections with them, and then you find out on Instagram, it's like, oh, shit, these guys have a ton of followers and stuff. I had no idea. So now what do? Well, you're at Ed's event. Go buy a couple of copies of Ed's book and send them to those guys, right? Or something similar. You know that they're into something by Ed, so go buy one of Ed's recordings or whatever and give it to them as a gift or whatever. That you know they have that like-minded thing, and that gift stands out as well. It doesn't have to be expensive. Like I said, it could be a $10 book, but that's $10 more than the average Joe's spending with anybody, you know?
Dude, I love that. So one of my friends, I think it was Randy Garnes, had given me this QR Me. So I'd use that on my phone as well, because the business cards are dead, guys. If you're going to conferences and meeting people, they're dead. So I love that. We'll put a plug and a link to that.
Give them. They judge you. Like if you give me a business card, I'm like, oh, they don't know, man. They don't know we're in 2022. So.
Isn't that it's the little things now that are starting to separate people. So listen to what Ryan is sharing, because these are tactics when you show up, whether it's an event in a conference or you're going, like in our world with mortgage lenders, you're showing up at a real estate event, you need to differentiate yourself. And I did have someone, Ryan, I was in Northern Virginia, and they tried to hand me a business card. And my first thought was literally, oh, wow, we're still using business cards. Like
that over here. Oh. Yeah.
Because it tells you about, are they innovative? Are they really that entrepreneurial spirit that they want to create something? If they kept up with trends, I want to be around people that are going to teach me things, show me things I don't know. So I love what you shared. Well, dude, as we wrap, you have had what I would say is a pretty interesting journey, and people can go follow and learn some of that. I always love this question. I think Ed asked this similarly, but something over the last 6 to 12 months that maybe once you believed that was true, or you had a limiting belief, that now you've changed your mind and you've said, you know what, maybe it isn't this way. It's actually this way. And I can do this. Before you didn't think it was possible.
I don't really think too many things are impossible these days. I just think it's a matter of putting the math together. But in the last year, the thing that I have focused on the most that has really, we've been on a steady curve up anyway, but it's really made a difference to where we're compounding the way we are and we're not pissing people off. I've still been in business for 12 years and no 1-star reviews anywhere. I'm not on the rip-off report. Ain't nobody in my league playing this level that has 100% satisfaction rate like I do, right? That's what we do. But it's been leadership. I've been studying leadership. See, there's 2 types of leaders. There's situational leader. Think Moses from the Bible. All of a sudden they got to get out of Egypt and they're like, you're our guy. There's natural born leader. Jesus teaching the people, the rabbis when he was 12 years old, right? Like there's natural born leaders. Maybe you're a natural born leader. You're in sports and stuff. I didn't feel that way. But about a year ago, I'm talking to my pastor, who's one of my mentors, has been for 19 years. And we're saying something. I feel like, yeah, I'm like a situational leader, because I keep getting thrown into situations where I got to lead. Now I don't have a job. I got to lead a company. I got to lead a family. But it's these situations. He's like, you used to organize drug dealers when you were a kid. What are you talking about? He's like, you are natural born. You have bigger leader qualities than I do. And my pastor was like, he's the person, when I think leader, he's who I think. It's envision that person, right? So I'm like, oh, you think that? Oh, then it must be true if you think it. And it's like that instantly, you might as well have given me magic superpowers. It's like, you can fly, and I would have been able to fly, and then I thought, okay, good leader would learn how to do better at this. I started reading books, even not even famous people books, like just leadership books about generals and presidents and even ones that I don't agree with and stuff, right? So for a year, and what that led us to is we have always had a mission and core values, but over the last year and a half, we have really been honing in on them and in realizing that leadership is what it takes. So there's I'll end with this. There's 4 levels to business, right? And you can really measure your life by them. You're employed somewhere, salesperson, manager, whatever. Then you're self-employed. So maybe it's you and an assistant and you're running 1099 and hustling, getting your business started. Then there's the CEO. This is Kiyosaki at its best, right? There's the person running a company, board of directors, employees. And then there's the owner, person that owns the companies or the investments or whatever, but doesn't work in them, right? So that's the ladder that we're trying to really climb in life, at least as an entrepreneur. So that being said, level 1, you got to learn sales and marketing. Level 2, you got to learn hiring and training, because how can you lead people if you don't have people to lead? Level 3, you got to learn leadership and brand building. And level 4, you got to learn money and taxes. But like level 3 is where I'm at in life. So that's really where I'm focused on, building a brand, Apex. This isn't Ryan Stewman. If I die tomorrow, this thing lives on without me. And I'm learning leadership, and it's really changed because it makes me carry myself a little differently. I can't go out and get drunk. I can't go party with the people that I want to and do all the things that a lot of people can, because I have to live as a leader. I really look at myself as almost like a priest. I have to live as an example. And if someone sees me out booty popping at 2 a.m, they're going to be like, oh, I can occasionally do that too. And that's not the signal I want to give people. I think there's more to life than that. I'm not 20 though. If you're 20, it's totally different. I'm in my 40s, so I'm in a different phase of life, and I'm trying to lead from where I'm at. So really in the last year, the one thing that's really changed for me is I have super dialed in on what it means to be a leader and who are the best leaders and the best qualities. And it's really changed because here in our company, I have Green Berets, Navy SEALs, ex-NFL players. We got a guy that fights MMA that knocked the dude out in 22 seconds 2 weeks ago in his 3rd professional fight. We have amazing humans that work here. And I believe it's because I have decided to go all in on leadership, and they're like, that's somebody that's an example that I can follow. And it makes all the difference when you grow in a company. It really does.
Dude, well, I want to affirm what you're doing, because as somebody that knows some people on your team and how you do treat people and how you show up, and that you're so transparent about what your journey looks like. And I can see that leadership growth, even in your writing and the things you share. And I'll tell you this, is yours is one of the ones I look for. And I've intentionally, I've narrated my feed. I only want certain people to show up that I'll read and I'll comment, because then I'll have it. And yours is one that's really made an impact on me. And so we're going to be sharing this out. I appreciate you taking the time, because there are more leaders that need to step up into this as we move forward. Those of us, especially for guys like us in our 40s, we are that next generation that can make an impact and make a difference. So thank you for doing that. We're going to share out all the links. Guys, this has been hopefully something a little different. And that's what we wanted to create for you today and on our show, is to give you some things that I would encourage you to go listen to some other things that Ryan has put out and shared and follow along in his journey. I think you're going to learn a lot there. Today, go back and listen, write down a couple of the tactics that we gave you and that Ryan articulated and said, if you do this, this is what the outcome should look like. We're only one decision, one action away from really changing the course of our life and really going after, like you said, all in on our dreams. And so we want you to do that. Ryan, thank you, my friend. And we will put the links in so everybody can follow along. We dropped a lot of knowledge here. As always, guys, go like, subscribe, make sure that you give us feedback about what you learned, what stood out the most to you, because we're on this journey together. One of my intentions is I want to help you take that next step forward. And for those that are together, we create this community that we help each other win, and we win big. Okay, talk to you guys in the next episode. Take care.
Subscribe, rate, and review The Brian Covey Show today. Go to briancovey.com.